With the advent of all these home entertainment and PC systems, who needs to go to a good old-fashioned arcade anymore?
It did look like the mall arcade was doomed when all these great PC products started coming out for home use. But games like Primal Rage have really helped keep the coin-op arcade alive and kicking.
As far as new arcade games go, Primal Rage is the biggest hit in a long while.
But save those quarters because Primal Rage has just been adapted for home use.
Will people like it as much as the arcade? For those of you unfamiliar with the game, here's a quick rundown. A long time ago, before humans were walking around, there were these dinosaur gods, which were the embodiment of things like life and death, hunger and survival, good and evil.
And as dinosaur gods go, these guys were really powerful and getting stronger all the time. They were always fighting and causing all kinds of problems. But because of the way things were balanced, they all kept each other in check.
That's when a wizard from a parallel dimension...
I just knew parallel dimensions would get involved in this sometime.
Anyway, that's when this wizard saw what was going on down here on Earth and thought that it posed a threat to the rest of the galaxy. So he took one of these gods and put him in a prison in the middle of the moon.
Once that happened, everything went crazy. The cosmic balance was upset and everything pretty much went to pot.
It's like your fan belt breaking while you're doing 150 miles an hour. It's like dropping an egg into a blender running at puree. It's like...
We get the point. There was this giant explosion that killed most of the life on Earth and sent these gods into suspended animation. So that brings us up to now, present day, millions and millions of years later.
Which is about the time that a giant meteor hurls from some corner of the galaxy, slamming into the Earth, destroying civilization as we know it.
Humans and other life still survive, but continents were rearranged and all our great technology has been lost. So humans are reduced to running around in loincloths.
Which ain't such a bad thing depending on who you're running around with.
Ahem. We're running around in loincloths, worshipping these gods, which have been awakened from their suspended animation. They're a bit grumpy over the way things have gone and proceed to fight each other again for total domination of the world.
You play as one of these dinosaur characters, each of which has a set of basic moves. In this case, upper and lower quick moves, and upper and lower fierce moves.
Each character also has unique special moves which are executed through combinations of button presses and directional inputs.
Both combatants begin with a health bar at the top of the screen, which goes down with damage. When it's empty, you're dead.
There's also a brainstem bar showing how dazed each character is after being hit. When it reaches the bottom, your character becomes confused, basically just standing there totally open for attack.
But using this basic fighting structure, you gouge and claw your way past all of the other monsters.
One of the features that made Primal Rage so popular at the arcades were the graphics. Some of the dinosaurs are oddly shaped and they look and move very realistically.
This is due to the fact that the designers first developed these monsters as plastic models. Then those models were digitized into the game. It looks fantastic in the arcade, but what about home PC use?
Well, as you can see here, the graphics still look fantastic. The play is just as good as it was at the arcade, and the fact that you don't have to put in any more quarters makes it play pretty well.
The minimum machine that can handle this game is a 486 DX25. I played it on a P60, and it ran very smoothly.
Yeah, but I loaded all the files onto my hard drive, and there was still some small moments where the game paused while loading in information during gameplay.
Oh, don't gripe about that. Those were so few and far between, it almost doesn't matter. The game played very smoothly. One of the best things about having Primal Rage at home are all of the extras that were added in. The only problem is that on a few instances, it felt like they were still designing this for use in the arcade.
I know what you mean. When I wanted to customize the time for each round, I could choose from 30 to 80 seconds, but I couldn't go any higher.
And when I wanted to turn the timer off and play the computer to the death each time, I couldn't. It wouldn't let me turn the timer off. Come on, folks. PCs are great for interaction. Let the player make the decisions, not the game.
But you can adjust the difficulty with 16 different level settings, and when you play against another person, you can set a handicap level, making it easier or more difficult to kill someone.
Other extras that have been thrown in include the different play modes, the most obvious, of course, being the arcade mode. This mode plays just like the original coin-op version.
Even right down to that insert coin message. But again, it plays almost too much like the original.
These arcade games are designed to get you to put quarters into the machine, so timers are put on things like the character selection screen and the screen where you put your initials.
But that timer made it onto this home version, meaning even though you're playing at home with no one else waiting to play, you're still under pressure to select a character and put your initials in on time. It's not a good feature for a PC game.
Another great play mode included is the training mode. Since every character has its own fighting style and moves, it can take some time to get used to fighting a specific monster.
The training mode lets you take on the computer like you normally would, except that you play the same opponent every time. As you defeat that character, you move on to a new location, but the enemy is stronger.
This is a great way to play against that character at different difficulties, figuring out their moves and their fighting styles.
There's also the tug-of-war mode, which is only for 2 human players. The first person to take damage in the round, their health meter goes down. But if the other character takes damage after that, the weaker character's meter goes up until it's full again, then the other meter starts going down.
So, instead of both health meters going down at the same time, the point moves back and forth on both meters. Winning means that one meter will be totally filled while the other meter is totally empty.
So it's kind of like a tug-of-war, right? Another 2-player only mode is called Endurance. In this mode, the players pick 4 characters each. Then the players fight these characters in the order that they were chosen, and when one monster dies, the next chosen monster replaces him.
The first person to defeat all 4 of the other players' monsters wins.
What it all comes down to is this. If you liked Primal Rage in the arcades, then you'll be very happy with the home version.
If you're looking for a good fighting action game for the PC, you might want to be careful when considering this game. It's a fun game, but there are some features which might not be the most suited for home play.